Okay, and we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope everyone's had a good Friday. Let's get into the Manchester United news. And as well, we're going to build up and have a look at the big match on Sunday, of course. It's Tottenham Hotspur at Old Trafford. Now, I want to kick off the show with a little bit of transfer news. Something that had been rumoured, that had been mooted for a while, but it does seem to be coming into real fruition and really seeming to be coming to a head. And that is Alvaro Fernandez. Where does he currently stand? Now, as we know, talented young fullback, very, very tall player, can play centre-back as well. Went out last season, had a pretty good loan at Preston North End, and this year he's been out at Granada. Not been as successful as perhaps United would have hoped. He's not quite had the minutes that United would have wanted, but talk now of him potentially going to Benfica for around about 10 million euros. So I think it's an interesting one because on one hand, I'm not totally against selling the player because I think in Luke Shaw you have a much better fullback at the minute, and I think there's maybe a better young left back at the club already in Amas who can come in and potentially have a higher ceiling than Alvaro Fernandez. But I do think he's a good player, I do, and if he was kept as an option in the squad, I have no complaints about it. It makes sense. Look, we've been saying about the importance of selling academy players for a while now as well. You know, it's something that's going to bring the money into the club. But I think regardless, we've got to be looking more money. And I think 10 million euros is not enough. Liman's done there. Good to see you, Liman. Stephanie as well. Keep Alvaro Fernandez. Big ups. Thanks very much, guys, for joining on in. Look, I think if you're going to sell the guy, it's got to be for more than 10 million euros. I think he's a better player than that already. I think when you look at signing, Tyrell Malacia for 12 million, he's probably as good a player as Malacia is, so you're probably safer selling him off for some more money. That's what I think you need to do anyway. But look, certainly it's an interesting one as well, and it's an interesting story because it first broke really from the Portuguese outlets this morning, and then we had Fabrizio Romano say, yeah, look, it looks like a deal could be done here, it's getting pretty close. And then all of a sudden it looks like Romano's changed his story as well now, and he's coming out and saying potentially it could be a loan deal. And I think maybe that makes more sense, like a loan to buy type kind of deal. We can get some more money out of it. Look, either way, if he goes to Benfica, if we do sell him, we need to either have firstly a big selling clause or a buyback clause. That's pretty much non-negotiable because Benfica don't go sniffing around young players if they don't think there's some quality in there as well. Stephanie says 10 votes, 10 likes. Yes, guys, thanks very much for 10 likes. Liman says keep all the youngsters, please. I think we're going to have to sell some of them, I do, and I think for FFP reasons, players like Fernandez could be sold, and it's going to bring in that kind of money that we need to free up later on down the line in terms of money we can actually spend. But look, obviously it's a really, really big time for the club anyway. I think in Alvaro Fernandez, you do have a very good fullback, and I think he did well last year at Preston North End. He played both left back and centre back as well, so he did well there. It's not been as good in he hasn't had as good a time, shall we say, in Granada. Probably hasn't got the minutes we would have wanted from him in that team. I think at the minute, 13 appearances so far. Not exactly what we're after either. He's only started 30% of his matches, 33% of available minutes he has played as well. So certainly, look, it's not been an ideal loan in that sense. We would want to see young players getting more game time, and I think it's an interesting one anyway. Stephanie says vote, like, chat and subscribe. Yeah, guys, if you would, that would be much appreciated anyway. Interesting enough, guys, just a quick announcement anyway, just for you guys. Got a load of videos coming up. I've been making thumbnails pretty much since last night, so should be having the big recording tomorrow anyway. We'll be in the normal live, of course, as well, but I think we've got maybe 3 or 4 videos I can get up maybe in the next couple of days, so that will be exciting anyway. I want to bring more content to you guys for sure. But yeah, look, I'll think of Alvaro Fernandez as an interesting one. I think there's a real good player in there. I think maybe if we sold him for like £20 million, I don't think that's a bad deal. And I think other clubs would get something close to that. Maybe if you can get 15 or 20, I don't think that's a bad deal at all. But it does bring into question our selling of young players and the money we're getting in for them. I think Kovar was a disappointing one last year. He's done really well at Bayer Leverkusen, and he could have been sold for a lot more. Ten Mengi, starring at Luton Town, only sold for 1 million. Zidane Iqbal for less than that as well. So a lot of these young players that we have moved on, it's been for very, very little money, and I think we've got to improve upon that as well. Look, if we're going to sell them, let's at least get some money out of it as well. Bourne is down there. Nothing feels new at Proudcliffe United continue to be a media circus. I think, look, we're always going to have the appearance of a media circus because the media will always draw the most attention to our football club, regardless of who's owner it. And who's owning the club. I think that's something that I would draw a distinction under, is that we always get talked about and we always have the coverage. And we even had Simon Jordan on Talksport the other day saying that nobody cares about listening to Chelsea stories or listening to Man City stories. They care about United, they might care about Liverpool, and they might care about Arsenal. There's not much money in selling stories about other teams because the viewership just isn't there. And as we know, rival fans are as obsessed with this football club as our own fan base is anyway, as people who actually support the club. So yeah, look, we're always going to be a media circus because we generate the clicks, we get the interest, we get the attention, we get the views, we get the sales for podcasts or for exclusive athletic articles or whatever. We're always going to have the most amount of coverage on us, and that's just a fact. Anyway, look, guys, if you want to have a vote on that poll, let me know your thoughts on this Alvaro Fernandez situation before we move on as well. Is it a deal you're happy to be seen done? I'm not against calling him back. I'm really not against calling him back from Granada. And I think whenever you have a player who's only played 13 matches and has only started a third of the matches he could have, I think you're looking that, yeah, that's probably a pretty unsuccessful loan spell. And look, a good loan spell can make or break a player. Look at Amad Diallo, at how he was rated when he came back from Rangers, and then compare him to when he came back last year from Sunderland. Completely different vibe, or the exact same player. And a good loan can do that for a young player. They can really elevate them and put them into a position that they weren't in otherwise, and they previously would not have been in. I think if we just want to quickly move on as well, guys, there is some interesting stories as well we want to go through today. But I think we'll have a look at Ten Hag's press conference. Look, plenty of good news, and I'm positive you guys will be happy with this one. And we have players coming back from injury. Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro could both be back in the squad for Tottenham Hotspur at the weekend. That's a good thing. And there's a lot more as well coming back. We got Licha coming back, Mason Mount coming back, Martinez, as mentioned, Casemiro, as mentioned, all coming back into this team. And I think that's going to help the technical level and the quality that we're going to see on the pitch as well. And I do wonder what happens as well, because I don't think, even if Mount and Casemiro come back, I don't think that either of them should walk into that team over Kobbie Mainoo. I think Mainoo should be starting as well. So I think it's a question of who do you put alongside Mainoo in midfield. I don't think you drop him for either Mount or Casemiro on current form. I really, really don't. Joe Hugel has joined Burton Albion as well in the last couple of minutes on loan. I'm pretty happy with that. He should get game time at Burton. You have a situation there. Their striker scored 7 goals in 4 years, so Joe Hugel probably is going to get some minutes between now and the end of the season, so that'll be good for him, I'm sure. Pretty good finisher, Joe Hugel, but it is interesting to see what's going to happen there as well. Look, Kobbie Mainoo, I think, has to be in that midfield for sure. I think Ten Hag's press conference today is very interesting. Some of his quotes that he has been coming out with around, of course, Jadon Sancho, Martinez coming back, Casemiro, transfers, Ineos. He's been talking quite a lot today. It's actually been quite an open Ten Hag press conference as well. Jordy is down there. Hello to you, Jordy, and hello to Rajad as well. 13 likes on the stream as well. Much appreciated, guys. So yeah, look, going on Ten Hag, we will have a quick look at what he's been saying in today's press conference as well. Good news around the board, really. Ten Hag on the press on the team news says, what do you expect? We've had a lot of injuries, and this week in training in the last couple of days, Licha Martinez training, Casemiro training, Luke Shaw training, Mason Mount training. There's many players returning, and they're coming in for selection on Sunday. Anthony, yeah, he will be back. Ericsson will be back as well. He was ill last week. Ahmad will return also. We have more choice in the squad at this moment to put out a stronger starting 11, and we can also create a bench that has depth and quality. Rajako Mainoo is good, but not the next Kroos or Modric. I think we're severely underestimating the guy's potential. Like, I genuinely think you're talking a player who could get that level really, really easily, and I think I do think that could be Mainoo's level. Like, I seriously think the kid's only 18 and he's just so good anyway. Rajat said loan Benfica is to Benfica or Dortmund. I mean, if he gets minutes, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good move regardless, because if he goes for permanent, then I think it's good for him personally. I think I would like to see a big sell-on fee put in if he does go permanently, but I would want more money up front than what, £8.6 million, I think the conversion is. So that's not ideal. We don't want that. We don't want that. But what we do want is either a good sale for Alvaro Fernandez or for him to go on loan and get more minutes, because at the minute he's only played around about a third of the available minutes he could do at Granada, and that's not ideal. That's not really going to develop him as a player either. Stephanie says, let's hope by 1st of February we're still in the FA Cup and closer to top 4. I hope so as well, Steph. I really, really do. But yeah, look, the Ten Hag as well, talking about other players coming back. He said it's positive steps. When I talk about Licha, Martinez training, Casemiro, for instance, they were a long time away. Mount will return, maybe a little bit longer. Malacia back soon as well. Victor Lindelof also coming back as well. So plenty of options coming up. Whether or not we're still going to have the same problems in the squad anyway, I still think we will, because I still think we lack the creativity and that we lack genuine chance taking at the top end of the pitch. I still think we lack that in the squad, even when everyone is available. I'm not sure if we completely have that, but it is interesting to see what we're going to be lining up with. And I think there's a possibility we could see Casemiro and Manu kind of as a double pivot with Bruno ahead of them. Maybe you see Mount on the right hand side, for instance. That was actually how we lined up against Real Madrid in pre-season before Manu got injured. And for the first, 25 minutes of that match, I think it went pretty well. And I think that Manu's probably played his way back into starting contention, and he'll probably stay in there as well. One player who is still unavailable, and we were talking a lot about him last night, and that is Anthony Martial. So Ten Hag says, Martial is not fit. We want the players to be fit, and in this moment, he currently is not. He is coming back from illness, and at the minute he is not physically able. So we have to get him fit. It's his job as well to do that. So I can't see anything other than Anthony Martial kicking a ball maybe once or twice before the end of the season. I really can't see him coming back in at this point in time, and I really think that he will be gone maybe in about 4 months. I really can't see him going. I think it's, if you're Anthony Martial, you probably look at it from the point of view that you've got what you have £250,000 a week to sit on the bench and sit on the doctor's table at Carrington, or you can go and try a transfer and get less money because you won't get your big free agent signing bonus as well. So it makes more sense for him to stay here. That's probably what the situation is if we read between the lines. Rajat goes, yeah, when Onana got chipped, yeah. Amad Diallo still injured. No, Rajat. According to Ten Hag, he was ill for the last match, and he should be back for Spurs, so he'll be in the squad. Whether or not he starts or anything, I'm not sure. I think if I had to go for a team right now, and I think we would probably have Onana. I think it'll be Diallo on the left back, probably. Probably then going to see Wan-Bissaka at right back. It might be Maguire and Evans, or it might be Maguire and Varane. I think maybe those are potentials. I think, or Evans and Varane, depending on who is available, because Maguire seems to be back in training as well, so he could end up playing as well. But I think it'll be Evans, Varane. I think if Casemiro's fit, he might try to put him back into the team for this one, and you might see Casemiro and Manu with Bruno ahead of them, Rashford on the left, Højlund in the middle, and Garnacho on the right. That's what I think he'll probably go for as well. Rajako saved 150,000 to have lunch with doctors and sit on the bench. It's a joke. Yeah, honestly, man, it is embarrassing. He's earning what, like maybe 10 years salary plus for most of us per week, and he's just kind of sitting on the bench, being injured, being ill for 4 or 5 weeks at a time. I mean, fair play to him. Like, honestly, maybe look, can play a centre back if available. Yeah, look, it's a good question. Who are we going to play in this one? Who's going to be in there as well? Ten Hag has been speaking about Sunday's match, and look, it's going to be a big one. I think that Spurs away match was actually a decent performance from us in the first half, and we could have went and won that match, especially if that handball and Christian Romero was given. That probably could have been 1-0, and if we went in 1-0 at half time, we might have went on to get a better result. But ultimately, it was first loss of the season, and it kind of kick-started the bad form. But Ten Hag on that match has said it's completely different. I think they complement the way they play, and has changed the environment there. They're really proactive, very enjoyable to watch them, with a lot of interesting dynamics, very proactive, and they're combining good performances with good results. So I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to watch out for. I think it's something we need to be aware of, is Spurs will come at us and they will attack us. Steph does not want to see Scott McTominay in there. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Bourne says, can someone investigate why the club is plagued with injuries and illnesses? Everything feels rotten. That's a very interesting point, Bourne, because literally right before I went online here, right before we hit the live button, we actually had a little bit of an explanation given. Now, look, we know that we haven't had a club doctor. We've only just got one in the last month or so. But before that, we went basically a season without a club doctor, which is a massive concern as well. But let me just quickly double check, because I think there was an article put out there. I think it might have been from Laurie Whitwell, and he basically had said that United had went for cost cutting measures. There was, let me see if I can find this from Laurie Whitwell, because it's interesting, because Liverpool took up the offer and decided to go for it, whilst United didn't, and it came down to cost. I believe. Let me see if I can quickly find this here. I think it was basically like an analytics software that would look at your injuries and look at players and basically determine how to keep them injury free. And I think it cost something like £200,000 to get. United decided it was too expensive, and we decided to not take it, whilst Liverpool did take that software, and ultimately they've had a much better time of it because they haven't been picking up injuries. They've been avoiding injuries, and that has to be a big frustration, is that these problems could be solved. These are things that can be solved as well. Just to speak on that as well, I can see one of the quotes from Whitwell here says, Ten Hag makes his player work hard in training to prepare them for the style of play, but tempers the training during busy periods. Those who do not play in matches must complete intense training sessions in the next day in order to match those who have been played. Let me quickly see if I can pull this up, because I would be interested just to see this. I think it might have been 120,000. I will load it up anyway. Yes, got it here. So 3 years ago, representatives from a data science company called Zone 7 gave a presentation to United staff, which was well received at the time. At the end of the trial period, the club decided that the yearly cost of £120,000 could be better spent elsewhere. Liverpool began to use the software at the 2021-2022 season, which coincided with a dramatic reduction in player injuries and absentees. The solution could have been right there on our front doorstep. It could literally have been shown to the club already, and we basically just turned it down for nothing, which is a massive frustration. It really is, because I guarantee we waste over 120,000 a week every single week on players who are not available. Rajat goes, do we want to sign Brobby as a striker, as a backup to Hoyland? I hope not. I hope that there's better options out there than Brian Brobby, because that's not what Manchester United needed this time. It's really not. Rajat goes, bet the players are still complaining about leaving Carrington late. Yeah, I mean, they probably will be. If they aren't already, they probably will be, Rajat, honestly, man. And the man goes, I just can't stand the voice of Ten Hag, let alone his face. The fraud baldy is all blah, blah, blah. Doesn't realise he's capable and is just throwing things blindly. Will Dyer get minutes at Bayern Munich as well? I don't know if he is or not, Rajat. I really, really don't. Sorry, Leman. But yeah, look, certainly some interesting things to go through. I think this will be an interesting match on Sunday. I think it's a big one. Look, we were talking, and I seen the quote come earlier from Stephanie in the comments. It was basically what's going to happen with Manchester United at the end of January, at the end of February. Can we still be in the FA Cup? Can we still be in that top four race? Because right now it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good. And these are the type of matches you have to win. So if we can't, if we lose on Sunday, top four might be as good as over if it isn't already. And believe me, it's probably getting closer and closer to that stage every single week. Look, at the minute, we're in 8th place in the Premier League. If we want to get to top four, we're 9 points off. We're 9 points off 4th place. It might not happen this season. It really might not. Brighton are ahead of us. West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal, City, Villa, Liverpool. We have Newcastle 2 points behind us. Chelsea are only 3 points behind us for as bad as they've been this season. So look, really, to finish top four is going to be a big ask from this position. It really, really is. Let me see. Am I looking at Keith Thomas? Oh, Keith Thomas as well. Bruno's missing that. Cost us the game. Yeah, it did. I think that's about the Spurs match. It really did. I think it was a bad miss as well from Rashford in there, and you could have had a penalty in there. We could have went in and probably should have went in at halftime 3-0 up, and we would have won that match as well. Big ups to those 15 likes as well, guys. Not sure why YouTube's not being kind to us anyway. I think, what, 35 views so far? I think that's just typical. I don't know. I don't know. I've been fighting this case for a long time. Um, you you would genuinely think it's like you would genuinely think it's like a shadow ban or something there anyway. Rajat goes, it's a weird signing to Bayern Munich. Yeah, look, it is. I mean, I don't really get Eric Dyer going there. Would I take a point on Sunday, Le Mans? I think you got to go and win these matches. I always say, look, when you go to Tottenham and City and Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, you'll probably be happy with a point on most occasions when you go away. And then the onus is on you as a home team to go out there and win that match in the home leg. So I think you got to try to go out there and win. I'm sure we'll try to win. Whether or not we can is another question altogether. Whether or not we will, and we need to get all 3 points. I would agree with Rajat's comment there. We need to go out there and really try to win this match if possible, because otherwise you're staring down the barrel of top 4 defeat already. You're basically looking at the FA Cup as the only thing to play for this season, and we could very feasibly go out, maybe not against Newport or Eastleigh, but in the next round. So the season really is on a bit of a knife edge at the minute, and I think you're getting close to the kind of point where it's like, is this season about to end? Have we given up on it already? Because we're out of Champions League, we're out of the Carabao Cup, we're not winning the Premier League. It looks very unlikely we're going to get top 4 at this moment in time. Even if it is a top 5 to get in the Champions League next year, we might not get there either. So, these are big concerns that we have to have, and ultimately it's our own fault for getting into this position in the first place. That's why we find ourselves in these places. This is why we find ourselves struggling and feeling to try get into top 4 as well. Top button is down there. Don't sell Alvaro. I mean, personally, look, I'm of the impression that Alvaro Fernandez is a really good young fullback, and I think there's a lot of potential in there, and he could be something really good. Is there better fullbacks at the club? Maybe in Luke Shaw there is, but that might be it. I think he's better than Tyrell Malacia. I probably would keep him under those circumstances, but I think when you look at Harry Amas coming through, maybe he is going to be a better player than Alvaro Fernandez. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But I think either way we look at it, if Fernandez stays, good thing, because then you've got a good young player who you can make something out of. If he goes, hopefully you get a good fee. Or if he can't get a really good fee, get a high sell-on percentage, because Benfica would not be sniffing around the player and would not be trying to buy the player if they didn't think there was a lot of talent there that they could work with. And we know how Benfica operate. They will keep hold of the player maybe for 2 or 3 years, and then they'll sell them on for a big profit. That's what Benfica do. That's what Dortmund do. That's what Ajax do. That's their kind of business model. So make sure you stick a high sell-on percentage, or you put a buyback in there if he turns out to be the player we think he could be. That's what I think we've got to do. Whether or not we're gonna do it, I don't know. Rajat goes, Malacia is a strong backup. I think Malacia is okay. I mean, I really don't think there's anything wrong with Malacia as a player. It depends on how he's going to recover from his injury, how that's going to affect him moving forward. But I mean, certainly, look, I think in Alvaro Fernandez, you got a player there who can be something if given the opportunity. But it's whether or not he's going to get that opportunity, whether or not he gets the ability or the time to have a run in the team and make a count. I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure what the plan is there with Alvaro Fernandez. Look, I think within the academy, I think you got players who could be something, and I think you got players who will be something. And I think the players who will be something, you're looking at Kobe Manu, you're looking at Garnacho, you're looking at Licha, you're looking at Ibrahimov, and among others. You probably can put Jace Fitzgerald in there as well. And then I think you got players who could be something if given the time. And I think in that kind of category, you're probably putting Alvaro Fernandez in there. You're putting Hannibal Mabry in there. You might be putting Pellistri in there. These are players who, if given time and a run to develop, could be something. They could be good. They could be really good. But it's maybe not as guaranteed. And it's ultimately what you tend to do. Look, not everybody is going to make it at Manchester United. Doesn't mean they're a bad player. And it also means Alvaro Fernandez is not a bad player either. Rajat goes, we could have got Leonardo. Now Costa will sell him for 100 million. Yeah, look, that's probably going to happen. These are the kind of deals we missed out on. And ultimately, we could have made the most of these kind of transfers if we actually went out and we had this takeover done months ago, because then we could at least have a different ownership in with money we could have spent with a plan, with an idea, and we could have done something. But ultimately, we didn't do it either. Dan Gore as well. Stephanie says, I think Dan Gore is someone who I don't think he's got the potential of a Manu, but I think you have a really good player in there. Maybe he's a little bit behind him at the minute. Maybe a loan would be good for Dan Gore. But I think in Dan Gore, you do have a very good little player. You really do. Tenacious. And I would definitely want to see more of him anyway. I think he's a player you can bring in, and he probably does a good job for you. Bourne says the Onana issue with Africa, the AFCON is embarrassing. It proves Ten Hag is a fool. Why did he buy a second goalkeeper, especially with Onana's poor form? I don't know. I don't get the Bayern Der signing at all, because at the minute he's just kind of sitting there to take up a space in the squad. He's just there to tick a box. I really don't get it. And there will come a time, and it will be after this Spurs match, that Onana goes to African Cup of Nations. And then you find yourself with a goalkeeper who hasn't played a single minute all season, and you're putting him in and hoping for the best. It would have made a lot more sense to have played Bayern Der, I don't know, against Wigan. There was no point in Onana playing that match. He had one save to make in the entire match. So you could have put Bayern Der in there, and you could have put him in against Tottenham, and then you could have put him in for the rest of this run-in of matches, because Onana could be gone for most of February as well, depending on how Cameroon do. So I don't think it's an Onana problem. I think it's a Ten Hag problem. I think he should have told him to go. And I think Bayern Der is one of those mysteries. Is he a top goalkeeper? I don't know. We haven't seen him play. Will he be a good goalkeeper for us? Again, we haven't seen him play. It's very, very peculiar. It really is. You would have thought he would have played in the Carabao Cup or the early runs of the FA Cup, or he would have played at some point over the Christmas break, but he really hasn't played at all. So it's impossible to say what kind of player we got there. He might be a really good player, he might be a really bad goalkeeper. I think from Onana's point of view, maybe he is edging towards being a good goalkeeper, because this isn't typical player behaviour from someone who is going to African Cup of Nations. Normally they want to go off there with their national team, and then they'll come back after. Onana seems really determined to stay here for as long as possible. So maybe in Bayern Der you have a top level goalkeeper in waiting. Maybe that explains it. Or do you have a goalkeeper who's maybe not good enough, and that's why he's not played at all yet? Because we really don't know. We haven't seen him play once. There's nothing really out there to suggest he's been really good in training. It's so confusing. Rajako's Hannibal to Everton would have been nice. Yeah, I think that would be a smart move. I think you get a lot more out of Hannibal if you send him to Everton. He's a Premier League player playing for Manchester United, so it makes a lot more sense for him to go to Everton, where he might play in the Premier League, than go to Sevilla, where he might play in La Liga. Like, it makes more sense to send him to the Premier League club, get that experience of playing in this league, and how to do it at a team like Everton. And Sean Dyche definitely would have used him. He would have used a player with those legs and energy and creativity that Hannibal does possess, and the quality that he has in possession as well. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think Sevilla is a very uninspiring move, but he seems to want Sevilla himself. The club seem to be happy with Sevilla as well. So that looks to be what we're going to do with this one. It looks like it will be Hannibal going to Sevilla. So how he gets on, it'll be an interesting time of it anyway. I think one loan move we're not even talking about at the minute is Sancho, and that's gone through. It just kind of screams to me of when Martial went to Sevilla on loan. It just seems kind of pointless. It really does. Some other news to bring you guys anyway. Just let me quickly load it up here as well. I can see some comments going through there. Joe Hugo has gone to Burton Albion. Not a bad one. Stephanie says Onana flip-flopping with his international career. Apparently retired and then not retired. Players roll the roost, it seems. Yeah, look, we know this. We know this already. But yeah, he's retired. He's unretired. He's kind of done everything anyway, Andre Onana, but I don't know. I really don't know. It does look good to have Licha Martinez back. That's something I'm excited for. I'm very happy about that one as well. I'm looking forward to that one. Just a point of interest, if we want to try get a guess of what the team might be, having a look at what the 21s are playing against Chelsea at the minute. They've got Harrison, Nolan, Bennett, so probably not going to see Reece Bennett in the team at the weekend. You might not see Charlie McNeil. He's on the bench there as well. Hansen Aaron, that's another player potentially going. Really talented player who I thought would make it at the club. Rajako's two very good, kind of two very bad goalkeepers, and we don't know until we've seen the other one play. I mean, maybe maybe they're both awful and we're having big mistakes there as well. Interesting update coming in there as well from Pedro Almeida. I think he's quite a reliable journalist for Portuguese outlets, and he has said that Alvaro Fernandez to Benfica is a done deal. So whether or not it's going to be a sale, whether or not it's going to be a loan, if it's a loan to buy, if it's an obligation, an option, it doesn't seem to have any kind of context put out there. It looks like it might be a sale. It does look like it might be a sale. And Fernandez will go on as about £10 million in complete profit because he's a youth player, and that's how it'll go down in the FFP sheets. It means we could bring somebody in, like we potentially could bring someone in now for 10 million. Whether or not that's what we want to do, I don't know. Because I don't know if I really want to see the club spend a lot of money at the minute either. Steph goes, and Nigel Clough still manager. Burton will be good for Hugo. Yeah, I think Clough is still the Burton manager as well, so it will be good for him as well. And I think, look, their striker really has not scored a lot of goals either. I think he scored 7 goals in 4 years. Like, Joe Hugo will get minutes there. They do find themselves in a bit of a relegation scrap, and I think, yeah, look, they'll probably will get some minutes out there. Sorry, just a quick correction as well. It's Gary Mills is the Burton Albion. He is the Burton Albion manager at this moment in time. They're 17th in League One. They're 5 or 6 points off the relegation places. So, I mean, yeah, look, it'll be an interesting one for Hugo. It'll be physical. It will be demanding down there. He will be playing against grown men every week, and that will help him as well. Jack goes, hope it's a loan with the option to buy or the obligation. There's got to be a buyback clause. Yeah, look, either a big buyback, either a buyback clause of, I don't know, 20 million, or a sell-on clause of like 30%, I think has to be the plan there. You need to have a good sell-on clause. And I think we've been kind of putting those clauses into some of these young players we're selling. We've got a good one, I think 40% for Mengi, a good one of about 40% for Iqbal as well. So if they are sold on for big profit, we won't miss out in that sense anyway. But yeah, look, it's disappointing because I think Fernandez is probably a cut above the likes of Iqbal and Charlie Savage and players who might have caught the eye last season. But I do still think there's a good player in there. I think he'll probably go on to have a really good time at Benfica, and he'll probably do a lot in the game anyway. I do think he's a good player. I really, really do. Just in terms of FFP, it will make a big difference, and I'm positive that's probably what we're looking at as well. Let me just see, Joe Hugo has gone. That was some of the latest there as well. I think, look, if we want to have a look at the Tottenham match, I think it's going to be an interesting one at the weekend. Spurs, I mean, they have a lot of injuries, but the players coming back as well. They've got new signings coming in, so it is going to be an interesting one. It really, really is. And what happens in this match might determine what we get out of some of our forward players, because I think there will be space to attack that Spurs backline. I think there will be opportunities to get in behind them. Can Rashford exploit it? Can Højlund exploit it? I'm not too sure. Look, in their last couple of matches, they beat Burnley in the FA Cup, of course. They beat Bournemouth, beaten 4-2 by Brighton. So they're conceding goals, Spurs, and they have been conceding goals for a while. I'm positive that we're going to have to go out there and have a really top level performance if we want to beat them. Whether or not we're going to get that, because I think we can count on one hand how many top level performances we've had all season. But certainly, look, it is going to be an interesting match. I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it on Sunday. I hope you guys are as well. But just have a look at their most recent team. I guess we'll probably have a look at that Burnley one. That'll probably give us an indication of what Ange might be thinking of for this match. You know, I think the back line is still questionable for Tottenham, and I think maybe we can kind of make the most of that against them. I think João Pedro a really good match for Brighton against them, and they're kind of playing with 4 fullbacks. They're playing with Porro, they're playing with Emerson, Ben Davies, Udogie as well. So that might be the lineup across the back. Whether or not they have Christian Romero back, I don't think he is. I don't think Van der Ven's going to be back. I don't think their new centre-back that they have signed will be registered in time. So these are potential ways we can get at this Tottenham team. Obviously, look, they're going to have their own threats as well. Richarlison in decent form. Kulusevski, good midfield. Bentancur back. I do like Bentancur as well. Steph goes, is Anthony available for Spurs? If so, want him tried on the right. Sorry, on the left, not the right. I think he is back, Steph, as well. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. I think on form, you've got to go with Garnacho on the right-hand side. I really do. I think that's got to be who you go with. on that side. I think on the left you have a bigger question because I don't think Rashford is playing well. But against Tottenham, these are the kind of matches that we can do. We can do well, and Rashford has done well in the past. He has a good record against top teams, against the bigger clubs, playing in I don't know, maybe more space to run into and stuff. So look, Pedro Porro will be getting forward. There will be space in behind there. Can we make the most of it? I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. I think on Wigan, against Wigan, we had a worrying match for me because, look, all season long, we have struggled to create chances, in my opinion. And in Wigan, against Wigan, we created a lot of chances and we couldn't score enough. And that for me is a concern because it highlights two problems. And you're not creating enough, and then when you do create, you're not scoring enough as well. So I think we've got to improve on that there, and we have to have a good result against Tottenham if you want top 4 qualification, if you want to try get anywhere close to Champions League football next season as well. Rajat goes, is anyone worried about Timo Werner? I'm not too concerned about Werner at the minute. I'm really not. It'll probably make me regret that. Stefan goes, Vicario has arguably been the second best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Yeah, he arguably has been as well. He's certainly been a good signing for them. I think, look, Tottenham have done well this year. I think a lot of the players they've signed have done really good jobs. I think Ange has got a lot out of that team that a lot of us didn't think Tottenham had at the minute anyway. We thought after Harry Kane left there would be a drop-off from Tottenham. Arguably, they've got better. And that's a concern as well. It really is. But I think what Ange has kind of done is he's kind of shone a light on some of the shortcomings in Ten Hag's game. And I think it's put him under a lot more pressure because whilst you can argue Ten Hag needs more time to get out of this get as much out of the squad as he can and really shape the squad, Ange is playing better football, getting more points, getting better results, and he's only been here from the summer. Like that for me is a concern there as well. I think that Spurs team were always set up to play like that. I think a lot of them had been brought up in that way, and they had known for a while that Conte would not be the long-term option, but I think it's definitely creating some issues for Erik Ten Hag. It really, really is. And I think you are right there as well, Stephanie. I do think Vicario has probably been one of the best goalkeepers in the league this season. Look, he's not the only one of Spurs doing really well this year. Pedro Porro has been a very good right back. Udogie has looked good. Kulusevski's been good in patches. Son has been very good for Tottenham as well. It's a solid team, and they have a lot of injuries out there, and they're still picking up points as well. I think Licha and Casemiro coming back, as you said, could be turning points, and I think that kind of gives you that solidity in midfield and defence that you want. Also, if Licha can get back to the level he was at last season, then I think you got a much, much better defence, much more secure, and in terms of playing the ball out, it doesn't even compare. You have a genuine top-level progressor in there as well. I hope one of them starts on Sunday. I think you could see both of them on the bench. Look, they've both had long layoffs as well. But I think if one starts, it's probably going to be Casemiro, to be honest. And I think you could go Casemiro and Mane, and that gives you a nice solid base in midfield. Kind of what we thought we would get out of Mane and Amrabat in times when we've wanted them to play. Just an interesting piece of news there as well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been interviewed for the Sweden job. So we could see Ole back in management. It's not a bad job. I'm sure they've got plenty of young players come through that he can help make the most of as well. Just in regards to that poll question as well, guys, about Alvaro Fernandez, some interesting results on it anyway. Quite a lot of people think we should sell him, 31%. We have 54% are saying an absolute no. We have 15% saying for more than £10 million that we have reportedly been looking to sell him for as well. And we are just waiting for confirmation on this one, if Alvaro Fernandez is going to be a permanent deal or if it's going to be a loan deal or an option to buy. Because at the minute, the latest update we have is that it's a done deal, but it doesn't say what the deal is. And that for me is an interesting one. I think he wants to go to Benfica, absolutely. And I think that it will be a good move for him if he does go. But saying that it's all concluded and that it's all done, it doesn't really add to the questions that we're having. And I think, yeah, look, I'm definitely not against him going. I think it's got to be for more money though. Ronald is saying he should be loaned in the Premier League. Maybe that is something you can do, but it's going to be an interesting one to see what comes down the line with that one. Does he come in? What's going to happen there in that sense? Stephanie goes 25% fit. Casemiro is better than McTominay. It's hard to argue. It really is. I think that we've seen very little um, from Scott McTominay in recent matches. Luman says Werner is better than Rashford. Ronnie is saying how much you think we'll get if we sold Rashford. I think you get a lot for Rashford. I do. I think you have a very marketable player there who can do a lot whenever he's on form. He isn't on form often enough, but I do think you could get 50, 60 million pounds for Rashford, maybe more. I think teams will pay that. I think PSG will pay that. I think you might get some of the big teams on the continent paying it. Whether or not he wants to go there, I'm not too sure. Like, there's always been the PSG rumours. Those have always been there. But I don't know. I really don't know. Luman goes, McTominay will start. Ten Hag is stubborn. He probably will. You're probably right there, Luman, as well. Razak goes, hopefully Casemiro will start out of the two, if not both. Yeah, look, I would like both to play. Maybe that's just me being greedy, looking them back into the team as soon as possible, but that could be my personal preference. Get them both back, get them both in, because I think we're a better team once they're on form for sure. Ronald says as well, we should sell him with a buyback clause. Yeah, that seems to be the plan. It looks to either be a buyback clause or a big sell-on clause. I know for a lot of the young players we have sold recently, when we're looking at Ted and Mengi, we're looking at Zidane Iqbal, Charlie Savage. Whenever they have gone, what we have been doing is putting in a big sell-on clause, 30 or 40%. So if they go on to have a really good time wherever they've went, then we can make a lot of money if they do get sold for big cash. And I think Alvaro Fernandez potentially has more resale value than any of those players. If he goes to Benfica and has a really good time with it, he'll have been doing well in the Champions League and in the Portuguese League. Benfica always get good fees for their players, and they're a team who sell players after 2 or 3 seasons, make a lot of cash, reinvest in their team. They do that over and over and over again. Benfica are very good at that. Dortmund are very good at it. Ajax are very good at it. It is a shame, because ultimately I think you can learn the lesson of, if they come in for a player, don't sell them, because they obviously think there's going to be a really good talent there, or if they're in for a player, try to beat them to the punch, because that player could be something special as well. And I think Brighton are kind of going that way in the Premier League, and that's something we have to watch out for as well. It's been really smart in terms of these signings that we're bringing in, because there's no point letting players go to Benfica to see how they do, and then all of a sudden they turn into a 100 million pound player, and then they get sold. We could have had someone like Enzo Fernandez for about 10 million pounds the season before he went to Benfica. We could have had Julian Alvarez for something similar. Moses Caicedo. There's a very, very, very long list of players that we have paid ridiculous fees for, or we have seen go on for ridiculous fees at other clubs, and we've never really made the most of it. We never really took full advantage of it, and I think we got to start doing that. I really do. As well, any more thoughts, guys? Make sure to drop them into the comments. Do have a couple of videos coming up as well, so those will be coming up pretty soon. I'll probably get one up tomorrow, I think, as well, and then we'll get some across the next couple of days as well. I want to bring a lot more content out there. Obviously, channel isn't doing the best in terms of the view counts or anything at the minute, but it is what it is. We fight through it. Razak goes, he's not mine. Stephanie in morning, Juju at the paranormal comment in you're looking for Ten Hag guy. Fair enough, Luman down there. Look, there is some interesting pieces of information coming out as well. Has anybody seen the interview with Jesse March when he was talking about Ralph Rangnick's experience at United as well? That was certainly an interesting one. Ronnie says, do we get a striker on loan in January? I think that would be the plan. I think it probably is still something we're looking at, but it's a very uninspiring list of options out there. I mean, you can't... I can't really sit here with any confidence and say if we bring in Eric Choupo-Moting on a 6-month loan deal, it's going to make much of a difference. It feels like when we signed Dodi Nagalo, he was just brought in to have him here. And that was kind of the whole point of it. So it does kind of feel like that as well. Stephanie says 16 likes. Yes, guys, thanks very much for the likes as well. Much appreciated. But yeah, it does kind of feel like that. It kind of feels like if we bring anyone in, it's just to have another player who might be available because Martial might not kick a ball again for this football club. So that's not ideal. That's not what you want to build your long-term planning off. But I guess is it better to do that than to try buy somebody who you might be stuck with? Maybe. I'm not too sure though. I'm really not too sure. let me see what we got. 16 likes as well on the stream. Much appreciated as always, guys. Really do appreciate that. Then we have a quick check for something else. There was one other story I wanted to have a run through before we call it quits as well for today. I think it might have been, yeah. There's a little bit of team news here for Tottenham. I think this is an interesting one as well, guys. Tottenham have 10 players missing for Sunday. This has come out very, very recently. Ben Davies will miss with a hamstring injury as well. That's not ideal for them. What have we got? Van der Ven, James Maddison gonna miss. As we know, Christian Romero, Doggy's gonna miss as well through suspension. 10 players is gonna be a lot of players missing for them. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Sunday, because if they're coming here only a couple of months into Ange's reign with 10 injuries and they're playing better football than us and managed to beat us off the pitch, then what does that say about where we are as a football club at this moment in time? It really says very, very little positive. But I do think there is some interesting conversation coming out from Erik ten Hag. Just go back to his press conference as well, just before we were wrapping up. Look, he was talking a little bit about the entire situation with the injury crisis as well that we've had, and he's basically said he's never really seen anything like this before in his career. I think that it is interesting. There's always been these talks about him having what should we say, maybe not giving the players the kind of rest that they need, and that's giving us excessive injuries. There's a lot coming out about Sancho. I'm sure none of us really want to read too much into his Dortmund quotes. I will just say that it's a little bit embarrassing, to be honest, for him going back to where it began for him, because it is a step down at 23. That's not the kind of move you want to be taking out there. But yeah, look, in terms of the players missing, Ange has confirmed Ben Davies, Lo Celso, and Dean Scarlett will also miss the trip. Romero, Madison, Perisic, Manor, Solomon are out. Heung-min Son and Pape Sarr and Yves Bissouma will all be away on international duty as well. So there's so many players out there. Ben Davies as well. So many players missing for this Tottenham team. They really, really are struggling. So there's no excuse. I think we've got to go out and beat them. To answer Luman's question from earlier when he asked would I take a points, I think you got to go for the win, especially in this situation. With all these players that have out injured, nothing less than a win is going to do as well. Ten Hag was talking as well. You want a team that is stable, so it doesn't matter if you swap one player from the other game, but not two. So many swaps were forced into in the last year. Previously, over my total cause here, we didn't have the option often to play a fully fit team, and that will change how you will approach the match as well. I think Sunday is the most important. We will not be looking further than that, and in the background I'm organising for the second half of the season to make the best programme for the players as well. But look, I do think it's interesting. I think we kind of find ourselves in a situation where we're so reliant on just a few players that it's a massive concern in terms of what we're doing overall as a football club. And I've been saying this for a long time. Man City have been without Kevin De Bruyne since the first match day of the Premier League season, and they're still up there. He is back now, and they're probably going to go out and smash up the rest of the season. So you're probably looking at us being reliant on Casemiro's form, being reliant on Martinez staying fit, being reliant on Rashford scoring goals. Is there a lack of plan sometimes at this club? You do sometimes sense that. And even with Ten Hag, is that a concern that we do have? When we see him talking about not wanting to swap too many players, when he's losing cohesion, we've had 19 different centre-back partnerships this season. That's not ideal. That's absolutely not ideal. But I think you still got to be doing more with what you got. And we can't be so reliant on these small group of players. Let's be honest with ourselves. And I've been saying this for a really long time on the channel. City have lost some of their big names over the last couple of months, and they haven't really dropped off too much. You've seen the same at Arsenal and other teams as well. Whenever they miss one or two players, their whole system doesn't fall apart. You know, we lost out on the sound of Martinez and Casemiro, and we went to playing 3 or 4 months of football like we were Stoke City under Tony Pulis. It was frustrating. I think it's an interesting quote, because I would argue with that, and I would argue with what Ten Hag's saying. I think you gotta be in a situation where you can lose 2 players or 3 players or 4 players and not have a massive drop in terms of your quality, or have a massive drop in terms of what you can do on the pitch. And that would be one thing that I would counter him on. And I think that a lot of fans are as well. I think we all know that we're too dependent on 1 or 2 players to get the job done in a lot of areas, and it is unsustainable. you do question what we've been doing as well in terms of the coaching and stuff as well, because last year we only had one goal scorer in Rashford. This year Rashford's not scoring goals and we're not scoring goals. So where is the coaching coming in that point of view? So that these are things that we do need to improve on as well. Look, guys, any more thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments. Keep voting on that poll as well. For anyone who has just joined in on the stream, let me know your thoughts on Alvaro Fernandez going to Benfica. Now, we're not sure at this moment in time whether or not it's going to be a permanent deal or a loan deal with an option to buy or an obligation to buy. We are not 100% sure. Those details haven't come out yet. But as soon as they will, we will, of course, bring them to you. I think it's an interesting sale. I think for 10 million, you probably should be looking for a little bit more. If they offered something like 15 or 20 million, that's the question anyway. According to Muppeteers in the last couple of minutes as well, United are looking to get a decent sell-on fee should the Fernandez deal go through as a permanent transfer. Again, look, there's no real sign that it is a permanent transfer yet either, and that's slightly concerning for me. I'm not too sure. It looks very unplanned. I think that's maybe what we want to say. Very unplanned at the minute, this transfer as well. Ronnie says, God help us if we're depending on Rashford. Yep, look, it was the same last year. We depended on the guy. He scored 30 goals. We're asking him to do it again this season, and he's not doing it either. Look, it has been a disappointment this season, guys. It really, really has. And I think that we have a big job in our hands really to put this club back where it deserves to be and where it should be. And I am covering it in a lot of videos. I've got some recorded. We're going to have more recorded very soon. And they will be coming up across the next couple of days anyway. So make sure to keep an eye out for those dropping. Look, guys, I think we're going to leave the stream here for tonight. So thanks so much for joining in. Thanks for 20 likes as well. Obviously, it has been a little bit of a rough spell on YouTube for the last couple of months. Hopefully, with some more videos and shorts coming up as well, lots more content on the channel, we can kind of ride through it and get back to where we were over the summer with lots of people joining in, lots of new faces on the channel. But as always, guys, thanks so much for sticking with me and being loyal to the channel, supporting me always. Really do appreciate it, guys. So, look, have a good night. Have a good Friday. We'll talk to everyone tomorrow as well. Probably gonna be an earlier stream tomorrow, I would say, maybe around about 5 or 5:30, maybe around this time tomorrow as well. I think we could be live, so make sure to tune in for that, guys, if you are free as well. Should be watching along as well on Sunday for Spurs. That will be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to the match. And yeah, guys, look, have a good Friday night, and I'll see everyone tomorrow as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one.